I am sitting on a cold stone bench in the middle of the coldest night I can remember in Chicago. I am watching 12 black BMWs pull up in perfect formation right in front of me. The headlights blind me for a second, and I feel like my heart is going to beat out of my chest. I do not know if they are here to save me or to finish what my own family started just a few hours ago. It all started when my daughter-in-law kicked me out of my own house on Christmas Eve, while my son laughed as if it were the funniest joke in the world. But before I tell you how I got to this moment with frozen feet and a shattered soul, I need you to help me with something. Leave me a comment and tell me where you are listening from. I would like to know that I am not alone in this, that there is someone else out there who understands what it means when your own blood betrays you in the cruelest way. My name is Robert Saunders. I am 62 years old, and I built my entire life brick by brick in the city. I am originally from the suburbs, where I spent the last 30 years building a modest but solid empire in the construction business. I started from the bottom as a bricklayer and ended up owning my own construction company. I am not a millionaire, but I have assets. I own 3 rental properties, a piece of land near Lake Geneva, and the main house where I lived with my wife Martha until she passed away 4 years ago from a heart problem. Since then, life lost a bit of its color, but I kept going for my son, Ryan, my only son. The reason I worked my fingers to the bone my whole life. Ryan is 35 years old. He is an engineer, or that is what his degree says, although I have never seen him build anything other than excuses. After Martha died, he married Victoria, a 30-year-old woman who looks like she stepped out of a magazine, but has a look in her eyes that always made me nervous. I do not know how to explain it, but there was something in her eyes that did not match her smile. It was like watching someone acting all the time. At first, I thought it was just fatherly jealousy that I did not want to let go of my son, but over time I understood that my instinct was not wrong. The first few months after the wedding were normal. Victoria was kind to me. She made me coffee when I went to visit them at their apartment downtown. Ryan seemed happy. I continued living alone in the big house in the suburbs, the same one where my memories with Martha grew. The house has 4 bedrooms, a large garden with a walnut tree that I planted when Ryan was born, and a study where I keep all my documents, deeds, contracts, and important papers. It is a house worth easily $800,000 in an area where property values only go up. Everything changed a year ago in February when Ryan came to the house one Sunday afternoon. He came alone without Victoria, and that already seemed strange to me. He sat in the living room, nervous, wringing his hands like when he was a child and had done something wrong. He told me he needed to talk to me about something important. I poured him a drink. I poured myself another, and I prepared for the worst. "Dad, Victoria and I want to have a baby," he told me, "but the apartment is too small. It barely fits 2 people. We cannot raise a child there." I nodded, waiting for the punchline. "I was thinking, what would you think if we came to live with you? You are alone in this huge house. We need space, and that way you could get to know your grandson from the moment he's born. You would have company. Everyone wins." He said it with that voice he used when he wanted something from me ever since he was a kid. That voice that melted my heart. I thought about how lonely I felt at night, about how quiet the house had become since Martha left. I thought about a grandson running through the garden, about laughter filling those hallways again, and I said yes. I said yes without thinking twice. What a fool I was. They moved in March. They brought their things little by little. First clothes, then furniture, then more and more boxes. Victoria started changing things around the house without asking me. She took down Martha's photos from the dining room because she said they gave her bad vibes. She changed the curtains, moved the furniture, painted the walls colors I had not chosen. I did not say anything. I thought it was normal that women need to make their nest. But something inside me started to feel uncomfortable, as if I were no longer in my own house. Ryan started working less. He left late. He came back early. He spent hours in his bedroom playing video games or on his phone. Victoria was the one in charge. She decided what we ate, at what time, who she invited to the house. I started feeling like a guest, and then suddenly the question started. One afternoon in May, Victoria entered the study while I was reviewing some papers from the construction company. She knocked on the door and entered without waiting for an answer, and she sat in the armchair in front of my desk. She was wearing a white dress, her hair tied back, and that smile that no longer fooled me. "Robert, I wanted to ask you something," she said with a tone that was too sweet. "Do you have everything in order?" I mean, your properties, your accounts, your papers, because sometimes older adults get confused with those things, and then there are problems. I remained silent. Older adults, as if I were a senile old man. Everything is in order, Victoria, thanks for worrying. I told her without taking my eyes off her. She smiled, but did not move. It is just that Ryan and I were thinking that it would be good if you made a will, right? So that everything is clear. We do not want there to be problems later. You know how family is. There are always fights over inheritances. I have no family other than you two, I replied. And when I die, everything I have will be Ryan's. He already knows that. Yes, but it would be better to put it in writing. Do not you think? Just in case. Just in case. Those words stuck with me like hot iron. Just in case what? Just in case I died soon. Just in case they were in a hurry. From that day on, I started noticing everything. Victoria asked a lot about my bank accounts, about the rents I collected every month, about the property deeds. Ryan never asked anything, but he did not defend me either when she insisted. It was as if he no longer had his own voice, as if she had swallowed him whole, and now he was just a puppet, nodding and smiling. In June, I got sick with a stomach bug, nothing serious, an infection that left me weak for a few days. Victoria offered to take care of me. She brought me breakfast in bed, made me tea, gave me the pills the doctor had prescribed. I thanked her, but something did not add up. The pills had a weird bitter taste, different from other times. One night, after taking them, I felt dizzy, confused, as if the world was moving in slow motion. I had trouble thinking. I had trouble remembering simple things. The next day, when Victoria was not there, I checked the pills. They were the correct ones, but the packaging was open in a strange way, as if someone had tampered with it. I looked online and found that some sleeping pills, if mixed with stomach medication, can cause confusion and dizziness. I felt a chill. Victoria was drugging me. I did not want to believe it. I told myself I was paranoid. That loneliness was driving me crazy, but I stopped taking the pills she gave me. I threw them away when she was not looking and pretended to have taken them. The dizziness disappeared. The confusion disappeared. Then I knew I was not crazy. In July, one Saturday morning, I heard a conversation I was not supposed to hear. I was in the garden pruning the walnut tree when I heard voices coming from Ryan's bedroom window. It was open. I approached without making a sound. It was Victoria talking on the phone. No, not yet. The old man is tougher than I thought, but almost there. I am giving him the pills, mixed with the tea. If he keeps going like this in a few months, he is going to start forgetting things, getting confused. Then we take him to a doctor and say he has dementia. With that, we can ask for Ryan to manage his accounts. And once we have power of attorney, we know what to do. Silence. Yes, the house is still in his name, but I already planted the idea of the will. As soon as he signs, everything goes to Ryan. And Ryan does whatever I say. She laughed, a cold, calculating laugh. No, he does not suspect anything. He is a sentimental old man. He thinks we love him. I felt my blood run cold. I stood there with the pruning shears in my hand, feeling like the world was crashing down on me. My daughter-in-law was planning to rob me. She was planning to make me look crazy to keep everything I had worked for in my life. And my son, my own son, was part of the plan. I went into the house without making a sound. I went up to my bedroom, locked the door, and sat on the bed. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating so fast. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I took a deep breath. I thought of Martha, of what she would tell me in a moment like this. Robert, do not give up. You are stronger than you think. I had to act, but I had to do it right. I could not confront them directly. Victoria was smart, manipulative. If I told her I had hurt her, she would deny everything. She would make me look like the paranoid old man she wanted me to be. Ryan would believe her, not me. I needed proof. I needed concrete evidence of what they were doing. That night, I started my own investigation. I went into the study when they went out to dinner. I checked my desk and found that someone had moved my papers. The property deeds were out of their folder. The bank statements had also been checked. Someone had photographed documents because I saw fingerprints on the pages, and the dust on the desk had been moved. I opened the computer and checked the history. Victoria had logged in. She had searched for information on how to process a power of attorney, how to declare someone mentally incompetent, and this broke my heart. How long does it take for an older adult to die if certain substances are administered in a controlled manner? I could not believe it. They were planning something more than robbing me. They were planning. I do not even want to say it. I do not even want to think about it. I installed an app on my phone to record conversations. I bought a small camera, one of those that hide in a pen, and left it in the study. I started documenting everything, every weird question, every insistence on the will, every time Victoria offered me tea or food that I no longer tasted. In August, Ryan called me to his bedroom. Victoria was there sitting on the bed with a face of fake concern. "Dad, we have to talk," Ryan said. "We are worried about you. You have been forgetting things, confusing dates. The other day you said it was Tuesday when it was Thursday. We think you should go to a doctor, get some tests done." I looked at both of them. Victoria had that smile I already knew so well. Ryan seemed genuinely worried, but he also looked like a puppet repeating the script. "I have not forgotten anything," I said. "I am perfectly fine." "Dad, all older adults say that," Ryan insisted, "but it is better to prevent. Do it for us, for your grandson." Grandson? There was no grandson yet. There was never a pregnancy. It was another lie. "Okay," I said. "I will go to the doctor." Victoria smiled, satisfied. But I did not go to just any doctor. I went to a lawyer. His name is Mr. Henderson, a man in his 50s who has handled my legal affairs for 15 years. I told him everything. I showed him the recordings, the photos of the move documents, the computer history. I explained about the pills, about the conversation I heard. He listened to me in silence, his face growing more serious. "Robert, this is serious, very serious. What you were describing to me is fraud, in progress, manipulation, and possibly attempted I do not want to say the word, but you have to act now. You cannot keep living in that house. It is dangerous. It is my house." I told him, "I am not going to let them kick me out of my own house. They are not kicking you out yet, but they will. And when they do, it will be because they already have everything they need. We need to get ahead of them. We need a plan." We made a plan, a careful, detailed plan. First, Mr. Henderson moved all my bank accounts to his temporary legal custody so that no one could touch them without a court order. Second, we registered all the property deeds in a trust, in my name, impossible to modify without my signature and that of 2 witnesses. Third, we installed hidden security cameras in the study and in the kitchen, places where Victoria spent more time snooping. And fourth, we waited. We waited for them to make their move. I did not have to wait long. On December 20th, 4 days before Christmas Eve, Victoria entered the study with a folder in her hands. I was there pretending to read the newspaper. She did not even knock. "Robert, I need you to sign these papers," she said, putting the folder on the desk. "What papers?" I asked, although I already knew. "It is the will. We already drafted it with a lawyer. We just need your signature. It is to protect you so that everything is legal." I opened the folder. There it was. A will that left everything to Ryan, but it was not a normal will. There was also a broad power of attorney document that gave Ryan total control over my accounts, properties, and medical decisions, and a letter supposedly written by me, where I declared that I felt confused, forgetful, and that I needed help handling my affairs. It was the perfect trap. "I'm not going to sign this," I said, closing the folder. Victoria changed. The mask fell. Her face hardened. Her voice became sharp as a knife. "Yes, you are going to sign, because if you do not, we are going to have to take you to a doctor and prove that you are no longer right in the head. And believe me, Robert, we have enough evidence to do it. Videos of you, confused neighbor, testimonies, medical records. Sign it now or we do it by force." I got up from the chair. "Get out of my study." She laughed. "Your study? This is not your house anymore, old man. This house is ours. You only live here because we allow it." She left and slammed the door. That night, I spoke with Mr. Henderson. I told him what had happened. He told me to hold on, that we almost had everything. It was only a few days until the authorities reviewed the cameras, the recordings, and could act, but I had to resist. Christmas Eve arrived. I had bought gifts for Ryan, for Victoria. I had even prepared dinner like Martha used to. Turkey, stuffing, gravy. I thought that maybe on a night like that we could have a truce. That maybe my son would remember who his father was. How naive I was. We ate in silence. Ryan would not look me in the eye. Victoria ate with a mocking smile. After dinner, when we were in the living room, she stood up and pointed her finger at me. "That is enough. We are tired of you. Pack your things and get out of this house." I froze. "What? You heard me, old man. Get out. This house is ours now. Ryan, tell him." Ryan stood up, looked at me with empty eyes, and said, "Dad, it is better if you go. We do not work living together anymore." "You are kicking me out of my own house?" I asked, feeling my voice break. "Let us see how you managed now, old man," Victoria yelled. Ryan laughed. He laughed as if it were all a joke. I looked at both of them, my son, my blood, and I knew there was nothing left of him. I left the house with only my coat and my boots. The December cold hit my face. The streets were empty. Everyone was with their families celebrating. I was alone. I walked aimlessly until I reached the park in front of St. Francis Church a few blocks from my house. I sat on a stone bench. The wind cut my skin. I looked at the sky. The stars shone indifferent to my pain. And then I saw him, a barefoot man with his face purple from the cold, sitting on the ground next to a tree. He was wearing dirty, torn clothes, shivering. He looked at me with lost eyes, but asked for nothing. I do not know what came over me in that moment. Maybe it was the rage. Maybe it was the pain. Maybe it was simply that I needed to do something good in the middle of so much crap. I took off my boots, the only expensive boots I had made of leather that Martha had given me years ago. I approached the man and gave them to him. "Take them," I told him. "I have socks. You have nothing." The man looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Why are you doing this?" he asked with a hoarse voice. "Why does someone have to do something good today?" I answered. He thanked me and put on the boots. Then he got up and disappeared into the shadows of the park. I stayed there sitting with frozen feet, thinking about everything I had lost. My house, my son, my life. And then, like in a movie, I heard the sound of engines approaching. I looked up. 12 black BMWs shiny stopped in perfect formation in front of the park. The headlights illuminated me as if it were a stage. The doors opened at the same time. Men in suits got out. One of them, the one from the center car, walked towards me. He was a tall man about 40 years old, with a serious face and intelligent eyes. He stopped in front of me and observed me in silence. "Are you Robert Saunders?" he asked. I nodded, confused. "I am Mr. Montgomery. I come on behalf of the man you just gave your boots to." I did not understand anything. "That man," he continued, "is my brother, and he is also one of the richest people in Chicago." I stared at Mr. Montgomery as if he was speaking to me in another language. The barefoot man I gave my boots to was one of the richest people in Chicago. It made no sense. Nothing about that night made sense anymore. "I do not understand," I said, with my voice broken by the cold and confusion. "That man was on the street shivering without shoes." Mr. Montgomery sat next to me on the bench. The other men in suits remained by the cars like soldiers in formation. "My brother is Edward Montgomery. Maybe you have heard that name. It Montgomery Real Estate Development." Of course, I'd heard that name. Everyone in the construction business in the Midwest knew Montgomery Development. They were the ones who built the luxury towers downtown, the gated communities in the suburbs. We were talking about billions of dollars. "Edward has a problem," continued the lawyer. "For 5 years, every Christmas Eve, he dresses as a homeless man and goes out to the streets. He wants to know who in this world still has a heart, who is capable of giving without expecting anything in return. It is his way of finding real people in the middle of so many fakes." I remained silent, processing what he was telling me. "Tonight you gave him the only thing of value you had, your boots, without asking, without judging, without expecting anything. Edward called me 20 minutes ago and told me I found one. Find him and help him with whatever he needs. That is why we are here." "What do you need, Mr. Sanders?" I felt tears burning my eyes, not out of gratitude, not yet, but because all the pain of that night, of those months, came crashing down on me at once. I broke there in front of a stranger. I cried like I had not cried since we buried Martha. "They took everything from me," I said between sobs. "My own family, my son. They are stealing from me. They want to take my house, my money, my life. And today they kicked me out like I was trash." Mr. Montgomery put a hand on my shoulder. "Tell me everything from the beginning." And I told him about Victoria, about Ryan, about the pills, the conversations, the plan to declare me incompetent. I told him about Mr. Henderson, about the hidden cameras, about the fake will. I told him about Christmas Eve dinner and how my son had laughed while his wife threw me out on the street. When I finished, Mr. Montgomery had his jaw clenched. "That is not just theft. That is elder abuse, aggravated fraud, and conspiracy. Those people are going to jail. Do you have the evidence in a safe place?" "My lawyer has everything," I replied, "but we need more time." It is a few days until the authorities can act officially. You do not need more time, said Mr. Montgomery, taking out his phone. Edward has contacts in the prosecutor's office and the state government everywhere. If you authorize me, I can have this resolved tonight. But you have to be sure, once we start, there is no turning back. I looked him in the eyes. I saw determination. I saw justice. I saw the opportunity I had been waiting for. Do it, I said. Mr. Montgomery made 3 calls. The first to Mr. Henderson, my lawyer, to coordinate all the evidence. The second to a prosecutor, who he said owed his brother several favors. The third to a judge who authorized an immediate search warrant based on the preliminary evidence that Henderson sent by email. Everything happened in less than 30 minutes. Mr. Sanders said, Mr. Montgomery, we are going back to your house, but you are not going in alone. You are going in with us, with the police, and with a court order. You're going to take back what is yours. Are you ready? I nodded, but inside, I felt terror. Terror of seeing my son's face when everything collapsed. Terror of confirming that I had really lost the only family I had left. We got into one of the BMWs. The interior smelled of new leather and power. I had never felt so out of place and so protected at the same time. While we drove back to my house, Mr. Henderson called me. Robert, a unit from the prosecutor's office, specialized in crimes against the elderly, is on its way. They have the search warrant. They are going to search the house. They are going to interview Ryan and Victoria, and they are going to confiscate any physical evidence. You just stay calm and let the authorities do their work. And if they deny everything, I asked, Victoria is very good at lying. That is why we installed the cameras. That is why we recorded everything. They can no longer deny anything. When we arrived at my house, there were already 4 patrol cars parked outside. The blue and red lights illuminated the street, as if it were a carnival. The neighbors were looking out the windows. Mrs. Linda, the next-door neighbor, came out in her robe and slippers to see what was happening. I got out of the BMW. Mr. Montgomery got out with me. A district attorney agent approached, a woman of about 40 with a serious face and a tablet in her hands. Mr. Robert Sanders. Yes, that is me. I am Agent Reynolds. We have a search warrant for this address for alleged fraud and elder abuse. Is this your residence? Yes, it is my house. I am the owner. I have the deeds. Perfect. We are going in. You come with us. We walked to the front door. I rang the doorbell. No one opened. I rang again. I heard footsteps inside. Then Victoria's voice shouting from inside. I already told you not to come back, ridiculous old man. Go away or I am calling the police. Agent Reynolds knocked on the door forcefully. This is the state prosecutor's office. Open the door or we will break it down. Silence. Then I heard Ryan's nervous voice. What is going on? Open the door now. The door opened. Ryan was there, in sweatpants and a t-shirt with a face of not understanding anything. Behind him, Victoria with her hair down and her eyes full of fury. What is this? Victoria asked. What is the police doing here? Agent Reynolds showed the warrant. Search warrant for fraud and elder abuse. Mr. Sanders, come in. I entered my house, my own house, but I had to do it escorted by police. Victoria looked at me with a hatred I had never seen in anyone. Ryan looked at me with fear. Dad, what did you do? Ryan asked. What I should have done months ago, I replied. Protect myself from you. The agents entered. There were 6, 3 men, 3 women. They dispersed through the house. One of them went straight to the study where the hidden cameras were, another to the office, another to Ryan in Victoria's bedroom. I need you both to sit in the living room, said Agent Reynolds. Do not touch anything. Do not talk to each other. If you try to destroy evidence, you will be arrested immediately. Victoria exploded. This is abuse. You have no right to enter here. This is our house. This house is in the name of Mr. Robert Sanders, replied the agent, checking her tablet. According to public records, he is the sole owner. You are residents, not owners. Sit down. Ryan sat down. Trembling, Victoria remained standing with her arms crossed until one of the agents pointed to the sofa firmly. She sat down, but she did not stop glaring at me. I stood next to Mr. Montgomery, watching as they dismantled the lie that had been crushing me for months. The first agent came out of the study with a box full of documents. Agent Reynolds, we found this fake will power of attorney without official signature and a letter of declaration of mental incapacity, supposedly written by Mr. Sanders. The handwriting does not match his official ID. Victoria turned pale. The second agent came out of the kitchen with an evidence bag. We found this in the medicine cabinet, sleeping pills prescribed to Victoria Sanders, and these other pills, which are Mr. Sanders. But the box is open and tampered with. Agent Reynolds approached Victoria. Can you explain why you have prescription sleeping pills in a house where an older adult lives? I do not have to explain anything, replied Victoria. I want a lawyer. You're going to need one. The third agent came down from the master bedroom with a laptop. Agent, the search history on this computer is disturbing. There are searches on how to declare someone incompetent, how to obtain power of attorney, and he paused, looking at Victoria with disgust about substances that can cause confusion in older adults without leaving a trace. The living room went silent. Ryan looked at Victoria with wide eyes. Victoria, what did you do? Shut up, she screamed at him. Do not say anything. But Ryan did not shut up. He got up from the sofa, walked towards me, and fell to his knees. Dad, I did not know. I swear to God, I did not know she was doing that. She told me we needed the house, that you were old, and that it was better for us to manage it. But she never told me that she was going to hurt you. Forgive me. Please, forgive me. He was crying. My son was crying at my feet like a child. And I did not know what to feel. Rage, pain, disappointment, pity, maybe, but not forgiveness. Not yet. Get up, I told him. It is too late for this. Agent Reynolds interrupted us. Mr. Sanders, I need you to come with me to the study. We have to review the security cameras your lawyer mentioned. We went to the study. There, on the computer, they played the recordings of the last few weeks. Victoria entering the study when I was not there, photographing documents. Victoria mixing something in my tea. Victoria talking on the phone, saying exactly what I had heard that afternoon in July. The old man is tougher than I thought, but almost there. The evidence was devastating. Agent Reynolds turned off the computer. Mr. Sanders, with this we have enough to proceed. We are going to arrest Mrs. Victoria Sanders for fraud, attempted dispossession, and aggravated elder abuse. Your son Ryan may be an accomplice, but for now, we are going to leave him under investigation. You decide if you want to press charges against him, too. I looked at Ryan. He was sitting on the sofa with his head in his hands, destroyed. Victoria, on the other hand, looked at me with pure hate. What do you want to do, Mr. Sanders? Asked the agent. I took a deep breath. I want her to pay for everything but my son. I need time to think. Understood. Two agents handcuffed Victoria. She screamed, kicked, insulted. She called me a bitter, miserable, selfish old man. She said I would regret it, that she had contacts, that she was going to destroy me. But the words no longer hurt me. She no longer had power over me. They took her away. Ryan stayed in the living room watched by an agent. I went out to the garden. I needed air. Mr. Montgomery followed me. How do you feel? He asked. I do not know, I replied. I won, but I feel like I lost everything. You did not lose everything. You got your dignity back. You got your house back. You got your life back. But I lost my son. The lawyer said nothing. There was nothing to say. We spent the night in the house. The agents finished collecting evidence around 3 o'clock in the morning. Ryan locked himself in his bedroom and did not come out. I stayed in the study with Mr. Montgomery and Mr. Henderson reviewing everything that followed. Tomorrow is the initial hearing, explained Henderson. Victoria is going to be at the prosecutor's office. The judge will decide if she stays detained or if she can get out on bail. With the evidence we have, it is most likely she will stay in preventive detention. And how long is this going to last? I asked. The process can take between 6 months and a year, but with the evidence, it is almost certain she will be convicted. We are talking about between 5 and 15 years in prison. 15 years. Victoria was 30. She was going to get out of jail at 45, if she was lucky. All her youth wasted by greed. And Ryan, I asked, even though it hurt, that depends on you. If you press charges, he can go to prison, too. If not, he will only remain as a witness and will have a criminal record. He won't be able to work in certain places. He will have trouble traveling, but he won't go to jail. I need to think about it. The sun came up. The sunlight entered through the study windows. The lawyers left. I was left alone in my house, in my quiet, empty, recovered house. Ryan came down around 9 o'clock in the morning. His eyes were red, his face swollen. He stood at the study door without daring to enter. Dad, can I talk to you? I looked at him. I saw the boy I took to the park on Sundays. I saw the teenager who helped me in the construction company during summers. I saw the man he should have been, but wasn't speak. He sat in the armchair across from me, just like Victoria had done so many times. But this time, there was no mask, only pain. I didn't want things to get here, I swear. At first, when Victoria told me it would be good to live with you, I thought it was to take care of you, to keep you company. But then, she started it to change. She started saying things like, you were already old, that you couldn't handle your things alone, that we needed to help you. And I believed her. My God, Dad, I believed everything. He was crying. When she told me about the will, I thought it was just to keep things in order. When she told me we had to take you to the doctor, I thought you were really bad. She manipulated me. She made me believe everything was for your own good, and I was an idiot. A damn idiot. Yes, you were, I said without softening the blow. Because even if she manipulated you, you know me. You know who I am, and you decided to believe her instead of believing me. I know, and I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life. Dad, if I could turn back time. You can't, nobody can. He stayed silent. Then he asked with a broken voice, are you going to put me in jail? I thought about it. I thought about Martha, about what she would say. I thought about justice. I thought about forgiveness. No, I said finally. I'm not going to press charges against you, but I'm not going to forgive you either. Not yet. Maybe never. You have a week to get your things out of this house. After that, I don't want to see you, Dad. 1 week, Ryan. It's more than you deserve. He left the house that same day. He didn't wait a week. He packed his bags, called a friend, and left. He didn't say goodbye. He said nothing. He just closed the door and disappeared from my life. And I was left alone again. But this time it was a different loneliness. It was a chosen loneliness, a dignified loneliness. The following days were a whirlwind of hearings, statements, interviews. The story leaked to the media. Son and daughter-in-law attempt to strip elderly man of his assets on Christmas Eve. The local newspapers covered the case. I received calls from journalists, from lawyers who wanted to represent me for free, for the publicity from people who recognized me on the street. But the most important thing was the call I received 3 days after Christmas Eve. It was Edward Montgomery, the barefoot man I gave my boots to. Mr. Sanders, how are you surviving? I replied, I'm glad to hear that. Look, I called because I want to thank you personally, not just for the boots, but for reminding me that there are still good people in this world, and I want to return the favor. You don't have to return anything, Mr. Montgomery. Your brother already did more than enough. Let me finish. I investigated your case. I know you have a construction company. I know you are a hard-working, honest man who built his life from scratch, and I want to offer you something. I have a new project, a residential subdivision in the suburbs. I need a trustworthy builder, someone who knows how to do things right. Are you interested? I was speechless. Mr. Sanders, are you there? Yes, I am here. I don't know what to say. Say yes. It is a $5 million contract. It lasts 2 years, and if it works, there are more projects. What do you say? $5 million. It was more money than I had made in my entire life. Why me? I asked. There are bigger construction companies, more, because you gave your boots to a stranger on the coldest night of the year. That tells me everything I need to know about you. Do you accept? I thought about Martha. I thought about everything we had built together. I thought that maybe, just maybe, life still had good things in store for me. I accept. And that is how my new life began. On December 28th, 3 days after the worst Christmas Eve of my life, I signed the most important contract of my career. $5 million, 2 years of work, a project that was going to completely change my financial situation. And more importantly, that was going to give me a reason to get up every morning. The signing was at the offices of Montgomery Real Estate Development in a glass tower downtown that seemed to touch the sky. Edward Montgomery was there, no longer dressed as a homeless man, but in a suit that probably costs more than my truck. He welcomed me with a strong hug, one of those that make you feel you're not alone. Welcome to the team, Robert, he told me. This is going to be the start of something big. I still can't believe this is happening, I replied, looking at the signed contract on the mahogany table. Believe it and enjoy it. You deserve it. But life wasn't just giving me good news. That same day, Mr. Henderson called to inform me about Victoria's hearing. Robert, I have news, he said with a serious voice. The judge determined preventive detention for Victoria. They didn't grant her bail. She's going to be in the county jail until the trial ends. How long is that going to take? The whole process can take between 8 months and a year, but with all the evidence we have, it is practically impossible for her to be acquitted. We are talking about a sentence of between 8 and 15 years, depending on how things go in the trial. 8 to 15 years. I tried to feel something, satisfaction, maybe justice, but the only thing I felt was a huge void in my chest. And Ryan, I asked, although I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Ryan is free. You didn't press charges against him, so technically he doesn't face criminal charges, but he's going to have to testify as a witness in Victoria's trial, and his life is going to change a lot. There are already records. His name is in the files. He's going to have a hard time getting certain jobs, certain loans. The system is going to mark him even if he doesn't go to prison. Good, I said, and I meant it. The following days were strange. The house felt huge and silent. Every room held memories that now hurt differently. Ryan's bedroom empty. The dining room where Martha served dinner. The garden where my son played as a child. Everything was mine again. But everything felt contaminated by betrayal. I decided to make changes. I hired a deep cleaning company. I painted the walls new colors. I changed the furniture Victoria had brought in. I retrieved Martha's photos and put them in all the important places. Slowly, the house started to feel like mine again. In January, the work on the subdivision started. I hired my old crewmen I trusted, whom I had worked with for years. Engineers, masons, foremen who knew me since I was holding a tell myself. The project was ambitious. 60 residential houses, each with 3 bedrooms of garden and top-quality finishes. I threw myself into work like a man possessed. I arrived at the site at 6 o'clock in the morning and left at 7 at night. On weekends I reviewed plans, quotes, materials. Work saved me. It gave me purpose. It gave me a reason not to stay trapped in the past. But the past has ways of catching up to you, even when you run fast. In late January, I received a letter. It came from the county jail. It was from Victoria. I held it in my hands for several minutes without opening it. Part of me wanted to burn it without reading what it said, but another part, the part that needed to understand, opened it. The letter said, "Mr. Sanders, I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I need you to know that not everything was a lie. At first, when I met Ryan, I did love him, and I respected you too. But then I saw the house, the money, the properties, and something in me changed. I come from a poor family, from a place where we never had anything, and when I saw everything you had, I thought it was unfair. I thought you had already lived your life, that it was our turn. I know it sounds horrible. I know there is no justification, but I wanted you to know that I am not a monster. I am just a person who made terrible mistakes out of greed. I am going to pay for that, and I accept it. I only ask one thing. Do not destroy Ryan. He is weak, but he is not bad. I manipulated him. I convinced him of things he would never have done alone. If you can forgive him someday, do it for him, not for me. I have no salvation anymore. Victoria, I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer in the study. I didn't answer. There was nothing to answer. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, I received an unexpected visit. Mrs. Linda, my neighbor, knocked on the door with a Tupperware full of apple pie. "Robert, I came to see how you are," she said with that warmth of an older lady who has seen everything in life. "I don't like you being alone in this big house." I invited her in. We sat in the living room. We shared the pie and coffee. We talked about everything and nothing. About her grandchildren. About her husband who had died 10 years ago. About how hard it was to get old in a world that no longer understands you. Do you know what the worst part of all this is? I told her in a moment of vulnerability. It's not that they wanted to rob me. It's that it was my son, my own blood. How do I live with that? Mrs. Linda took my hand with her wrinkled but firm fingers. "Robert, children don't always turn out how one would like. Sometimes they turn out good. Sometimes they turn out bad. Sometimes they start good and get lost along the way. But that doesn't mean you failed as a father. You did the best you could with what you had. The rest was his decision. But it hurts. It hurts like something was ripped out from inside me. And it's going to keep hurting. But the pain isn't going to kill you. What kills you is staying trapped in it. You have to keep going. Robert, you have to find new reasons to live." She was right, and I was trying to do exactly that. In March, the subdivision project was sailing smoothly. We had already finished the foundations of the first 20 houses. Edward Montgomery visited the site every 15 days. and always left impressed with the progress and the quality of the work. "Robert, this is turning out better than I imagined," he told me during one of his visits. "When we finish here, I want us to talk about other projects. I have big plans, and I need people like you." For the first time in months, I felt hope. I felt that my life hadn't ended, but that a new stage was beginning. But then came April, and with April came the trial. The first hearing was on April 15th at the Court of Justice. I had to testify. I had to sit on that stand, with all those eyes on me, and tell my story. Tell how my daughter-in-law tried to rob me, drug me, declare me incompetent. Tell how my son laughed when they threw me out of my house on Christmas Eve. Victoria was there, dressed in the beige prison uniform, her hands cuffed. She looked at me when I entered. Our eyes met for a second. In her look, there was no hate, only defeat. The prosecutor presented all the evidence, the audio recordings, the videos from the hidden cameras, the fake documents, the computer history. Everything was there exposed, impossible to deny. Victoria's defense lawyer tried to argue that she had been influenced by mental health issues, by depression, by the pressure of not having financial resources, but the prosecutor demolished every argument. "Mrs. Sanders did not act on impulse," said the prosecutor. "She acted with premeditation, with a detailed plan that extended for months. She researched how to drug an older adult. She forged documents. She manipulated her husband to participate in the fraud. This is not mental illness. This is calculated crime." Ryan also had to testify. He went up to the stand with his head down, his voice broken. He confirmed that Victoria had been the one who planned everything, that he had participated because he believed in her, because he loved her, because he was an idiot. When the judge asked him if he had anything to say in his defense, Ryan looked directly at me. "I just want to tell my dad that I'm sorry, that I know I don't deserve his forgiveness, but that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be a better person. I lost everything for following someone who wasn't worth it, and now I have to live with that." I felt something in my chest. I don't know if it was pity rage, or maybe a small glimmer of compassion, but I said nothing. I just looked at him and nodded. The trial lasted 3 weeks. There were more hearings, more testimonies, more evidence. The defense lawyer tried everything, but the truth was too clear, too solid. On May 7th, the verdict arrived. The room was full. The journalists were there, the curious onlookers, some neighbors who had followed the case. Mrs. Linda was sitting next to me holding my hand. The judge entered. We all stood up. He sat down, reviewed his papers, and began to read. After reviewing all the evidence presented, "This court finds the defendant Victoria Sanders guilty of the crimes of aggravated fraud, forgery of documents, attempted dispossession, and aggravated elder abuse." Victoria closed her eyes. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder. "The sentence of this court is 12 years in prison without the possibility of early parole. In addition, the defendant must pay a fine of $25,000 in restitution for moral damages to Mr. Robert Sanders in the amount of $10,000. 12 years. Victoria was 30. She was going to get out at 42. Her youth destroyed. Her life ruined. All for greed. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel justice. I just felt sadness. Sadness for everything that had been lost. For everything that was never coming back. After the sentencing, I left the court. Outside journalists were waiting for me with their cameras and microphones. They asked me 1,000 questions. "How do you feel? Are you satisfied with the sentence? Any message for your son?" I told them the only thing I felt at that moment. "I am tired. I just want this to end. I want to go back to my life and try to find some peace." And that was what I did. The following months were of reconstruction, physical and emotional. The subdivision project moved fast. By August, we already had 40 houses finished, and the first families were starting to move in. Seeing those happy families with children running through the new streets filled me with a pride I hadn't felt in a long time. Edward Montgomery kept his word. In September, he offered me a second project, this time near the lake, another $3 million contract. I accepted without thinking. Work had saved me once. It could save me again. But there was something I couldn't ignore any longer. Something that weighed on my soul like a stone. Ryan, I hadn't heard anything from him since the trial. He hadn't called me. He hadn't looked for me. According to Mrs. Linda, who found out everything, Ryan had moved to Florida. He was working in a hotel as a maintenance manager. He lived alone in a small apartment. He hadn't had a girlfriend again. One night, in October, while reviewing papers in the study, I found a photo which was from when Ryan was 10 years old. We were at the beach. He was on my shoulders with his little arms outstretched like airplanes, laughing with that laugh of a child who knows no pain. Martha had taken the photo. Behind the image with her handwriting, she had written "My Two Loves." October 1999. I broke. I cried like I hadn't cried since the day of the sentencing. I cried for everything I had lost. For Martha, who wasn't here to help me fix this. For Ryan, who had been a good boy and had become a weak man. For me, who was alone in a big house with all the money in the world, but without family. The next morning, I made a decision. I called Ryan. The phone rang 5 times. I thought he wasn't going to answer, but then I heard his cautious, surprised voice. "Dad, it's me." Silence. I didn't think you'd call me again. I didn't think I would either. But here I am. More silence. "How are you?" he asked with a small voice. "Busy, working, and you?" "Surviving, working, too, trying to be a better person." "Good." I didn't know what else to say. There was so much to say, and at the same time, nothing. "Dad," Ryan started, but his voice broke. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I want you to know that not a single day goes by without me regretting it. Not a single day. I know. Do you hate me?" The question took me by surprise. I thought about my answer. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the pain, the sleepless nights. I thought about the one in the photo with his arms outstretched. "I don't hate you," I said finally. "I hated you, but not anymore. Now, just I don't know what I feel, but hate isn't it?" I heard him crying on the other end of the line. "Do you think someday we can, I don't know, talk, see each other? Maybe someday, but not today. I'm not ready yet. I understand. Thanks for calling, Dad. Seriously, thanks." I hung up the phone. I stayed sitting in the study, looking out the window at the walnut tree in the garden. The same tree I had planted when Ryan was born. The same tree that had seen him grow. And for the first time in months, I felt something I didn't know I could still feel. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, someday we could fix this. Maybe it wouldn't be like before. It probably never would be like before. But maybe we could find a new way to be father and son. A more honest way, more real, built on ashes, but built nonetheless. Or maybe not. Maybe that bridge was broken forever. But at least now I could live knowing I had tried. In November, I received another unexpected visit. It was Mr. Montgomery, Edward's brother. "Robert, I come to offer you something different," he said, sitting in the living room. "My brother and I have been talking. We are impressed by your work, your ethics, your way of doing things, and we want to make you a minority partner of Montgomery Real Estate Development." I was speechless. I know it is a lot, but we have thought it through. You bring experience, honesty, a reputation that is now pure gold after everything that happened. People know you as the man who defended himself, who fought for what was his, who didn't let himself be taken advantage of. That is marketing that cannot be bought. I don't know what to say. Say yes. We offer you 10% of the company. You are going to have a voice in big decisions. You are going to receive dividends, and you're going to keep doing what you love. Building. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Yes, I accept. And so, at my 63 years, I became a partner in one of the most important construction companies in the state. December came again, a full year since that Christmas Eve that changed everything. This time, I decorated the house myself. I put up the tree, the lights, the ornaments that Martha kept in boxes in the basement. I invited Mrs. Linda and her family. I invited Edward Montgomery and his brother. I invited my oldest workers. The house filled with laughter, music, life. At some point in the night, I went out to the garden. It was cold, but not as much as the previous year. I looked at the stars, thought about Martha, about Ryan, about Victorian prison, about the whole journey traveled, and I realized something. I had survived, not only physically, I had survived with dignity, with my head held high, with my soul intact. They had betrayed me. They had wanted to destroy me. But they hadn't succeeded because I was Robert Sanders, 63 years old builder, survivor. And I wasn't going to let anyone take what was mine, my name, my house, my life. The phone rang. It was a text message from an unknown number. It said, "Merry Christmas, Dad. I hope you are well." I read it 3 times. Then I put it away without replying. I wasn't ready yet, but someday maybe I would be. The days after Victoria's sentencing were of a strange silence. Justice had been served. 12 years in prison. The culprit was paying, but I didn't feel the satisfaction I thought I would feel. I only felt a huge void, as if I had won the battle, but lost something much more important in the process. The house was silent, too silent. Every room held memories that now hurt differently. I found myself walking through the hallways at night, looking at the freshly painted walls, the new furniture, trying to convince myself that this was a new beginning. But new beginnings are hard when you carry so much weight from the past. One morning, while I was drinking coffee in the kitchen, Mrs. Linda knocked on the door. She brought freshly made sweet bread, and that look of concern that only mothers and grandmothers know how to give. "Robert, I came to see how you woke up," she said, entering without waiting for an invitation. "Last night I saw you walking in the garden at 2 o'clock in the morning. That is not normal." "I can't sleep," I admitted. "Every time I close my eyes, I see everything again. Ryan's face when he laughed, Victoria's face when she threw me out. And then I see the boy who was my son, and I don't understand at what moment I lost him." Mrs. Linda poured the coffee, broke the bread, and sat across from me with that infinite patience of someone who has lived a lot. "Do you know what your problem is, Robert? That you are waiting to feel good about what happened, and you are never going to feel good. What they did to you was horrible, unforgivable. But holding on to the pain isn't going to return what you lost either. So, what do I do?" I asked, and my voice sounded more desperate than I wanted to admit. "You live, you keep going, you build something new with the pieces you have left, and if someday Ryan returns being a different man, you decide in that moment if you want to open the door for him or not. But meanwhile, you cannot stay trapped here." She was right as always. That afternoon, I decided to do something I had been avoiding. I went to the cemetery where Martha was buried. I hadn't gone for months, not because I didn't want to, but because I knew that once I was in front of her grave, everything I had been holding back was going to come out. I arrived with flowers, white roses, her favorites. I knelt in front of the marble tombstone where her name was, Martha Helen Saunders, 1960-2021 wife, mother, friend. "Forgive me, my love," I said, and my voice broke. "Forgive me for not taking better care of our son. Forgive me for not realizing sooner what was happening. I feel like I failed you. I failed you and I failed him." The wind moved the leaves of the nearby trees. In my head, I heard her voice. Not really, of course, but the memory of what she always told me when things got difficult. "Robert, you did the best you could with what you had. No one can ask more than that. I don't know if I can ever forgive him," I continued. "I don't know if I should, but I do know that I cannot keep living like this, trapped in this. I need to find a way to keep going for me, for you, for everything we built together." I stayed there sitting for more than an hour, crying, talking, remembering. When I finally got up, I felt something different. Not peace, not yet, but a small clarity of what I had to do. I had to let go, not necessarily forgive, not forget, but let go of the weight that was crushing me. The next day, I did something I never thought I would do. I called a therapist. Yes, me, Robert Sanders, 62-year-old man, builder all my life from that generation that doesn't talk about feelings or go to the psychologist because men don't do that. But I didn't care anymore what men were supposed to do or not do. I needed help and there was no shame in admitting it. Dr. Reynolds was a woman in her 50s with a quiet office full of plants and books. I sat in the armchair across from her, and for the first time in months I talked. I talked about everything, about Martha, about Ryan, about Victoria, about the betrayal, the pain, the rage, the guilt. "Robert," she told me after listening to me for almost 2 hours, "what you are feeling is completely normal. It is grief, not just for the betrayal, but for the loss of the relationship you had with your son. That relationship died, and you need to allow yourself to mourn that death before you can think about building something new. And if I can never build something new with him, I ask, then build something new with yourself. Your value doesn't depend on whether your son returns or not. Your value is in who you are and what you have achieved in the dignity with which you faced all this. No one can take that away from you." I left that session feeling strangely light, as if someone finally had given me permission to feel everything I was feeling without judging me for it. Weeks passed. The work on the subdivision was advancing incredibly well. The families moving into the new houses looked for me to thank me personally. Children ran through the freshly paved streets. Young couples planted trees in their gardens. I watched all that and felt pride, genuine pride in creating something good in the world. Edward Montgomery visited the site regularly and each time was more impressed. "Robert, this is next level," he told me on one of his visits. "The quality, the attention to detail, everything. I want you to know that we are already planning the next project, and it is going to be even bigger. I'm glad to hear that, I replied. This job saved my life, Edward. Seriously, it gave me a reason to get up every day. You saved yourself, Robert. I just gave you the opportunity. You did the rest. One afternoon in November, while reviewing blueprints in the study, the phone rang. It was Mr. Henderson. Robert, I have news about Victoria. My stomach tightened. What happened? She wants to see you. She formally requested a visit in prison. She says she needs to talk to you. You are not obligated to go, of course, but I thought you should know. I hung up the phone and stared into nothingness. Go see Victoria. What for? What could she tell me that would change anything? I talked to Dr. Reynolds about this in my next session. Do you want to go? She asked me. I don't know. Part of me is curious. Part of me just wants to forget she exists. There is no right answer, Robert. But I will tell you something. If you decide to go, go for yourself, not for her. Go to close what you need to close. Don't go expecting her to give you something that makes you feel better. She doesn't have that power. I thought about her words for days. Finally, I made a decision. I was going to go. Not for Victoria, for me to close that chapter once and for all. The county jail was a depressing place. Bars, grey, concrete guards with serious faces. They searched me, took my phone, made me pass through a metal detector. Finally, they took me to a visiting room where there were plastic tables bolted to the floor and uncomfortable chairs. I waited 10 minutes. Then I saw her enter. Victoria had changed. She was no longer the groomed and self-assured woman I knew. She had short hair, no makeup. The beige prison uniform was too big for her. She looked younger, but also more tired, as if prison had stripped away all the masks, and the only thing left was a broken person. She sat across from me. We looked at each other in silence for several seconds. Thanks for coming, she said finally with a small voice. I didn't come for you, I replied. I came for me to close this. She nodded. I understand. I don't know where to start. Start at the beginning. Why did you do it? And I want the truth, not the version you told the judge. The real truth. Victoria took a deep breath. Her hands were shaking on the table. Because I was afraid. Afraid of being poor again. I grew up with nothing, Mr. Sanders. My dad abandoned us when I was 8. My mum worked cleaning houses 18 hours a day to feed us. I grew up seeing beautiful houses from the inside, knowing I was never going to have one. When I met Ryan, when I saw his life, his family, his house, something in me broke or activated. I don't know how to explain it. I saw the opportunity to have what I always wanted, and I got obsessed. And what was I to you? An obstacle. She lowered her gaze. At first, I respected you. I admired you even, but then I started seeing everything you had and I thought, he already lived his life. He already had his chance. Why does he have to hold on to everything? Why can't he just give it to us? Because it was mine, I said, and my voice came out harder than I intended. Because I worked 40 years to have that. Because every brick of that house was put there by me. Because it was not your right to take it from me. I know now. But at that moment, I didn't see it like that. I only saw what I wanted, and I manipulated Ryan to get it. I convinced him that you could no longer take care of yourself, that we were doing the right thing. He believed me because he loved me, and I used that love to destroy him. Tears were running down her cheeks. I am going to be here 12 years, Mr. Sanders, 12 years. I am going to get out at 42. No career, no family, nothing, and I accept it. I deserve it. But before you go, I need you to know something. Ryan didn't want to hurt you. He is weak, yes, but he is not bad. I am the bad one. I am the monster. If someday you can forgive him, do it. He deserves a second chance. I stared at her. Part of me wanted to scream at her, tell her all the pain she caused me, but another part, the part that had been working with Dr. Reynolds, only felt pity. Pity for this woman who risked it all for greed, and now was going to pay the highest price. I don't know if I can ever forgive Ryan, I said honestly, but I don't hate you anymore. I don't forgive you, but I don't hate you either. Just nothing. I feel nothing for you. Victoria nodded. It is more than I deserve. I got up. The visit was over. Goodbye, Victoria. Goodbye, Mr. Sanders. I left the prison feeling different. Not better necessarily, but different. As if I had let go of something I didn't know I was carrying. Days passed. December arrived again. A full year since that horrible Christmas Eve night. This time, I didn't want to have a big party. I just invited Mrs. Linda, Edward Montgomery, and his family, and some close friends. We decorated the house with lights, put on music, cooked, the house filled with laughter and warmth. At some point in the night, I went out to the garden. It was cold, but not like last year. The stars were shining. I looked at the walnut tree I had planted when Ryan was born. It was still there, strong, growing. My phone vibrated. A text message. Dad, I know you don't want to talk to me yet, but I want you to know that I am working on myself. I am going to therapy. I quit alcohol. I'm trying to be better. Not for you, for me, because I realized I got lost along the way, and I need to find myself again. Someday, if you allow me, I would like to try to rebuild something with you, but I understand if you never forgive me. Merry Christmas. I love you, Ryan. I read the message 3 times. Then, I put it away without replying. I wasn't ready yet, but for the first time, I could imagine a future where maybe, just maybe, I would be. I went into the house. My guests were toasting. Edward Montgomery saw me and raised his glass. To Robert, to the man who taught us that dignity is worth more than any fortune. Everyone toasted. I raised my glass, too, and in that moment, surrounded by people who genuinely appreciated me in my recovered house with my rebuilt life, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. It wasn't a complete peace. There were still scars. There was still pain. There was still a part of me that missed the son I lost and wondered if someday we could find the way back to each other. But it was peace at last. And that was enough, because I had learned something fundamental in this terrible and transformative year. That you can lose almost everything and still stand tall. That the deepest betrayal can come from where you least expect it. That the kindness of strangers can save you when your own blood abandons you. And that at the end of the day, the only thing you really have is your dignity, your name, and the ability to get up one more time. They had knocked me down. They had trampled on me. They had wanted to destroy me. But I was still here. Robert Sanders, 62 years old, builder, survivor man, standing tall. And as long as I had breath in my lungs and strength in my hands, no one was going to take that away from me. No one. This is my story. The story of how I lost my family on Christmas Eve and found something more valuable. I found myself, and if there is something I want you to take from all this, it is a warning and a promise. The warning is this: take care of your elderly. Be attentive to the signs: manipulation, financial abuse, dispossession. Everything starts with small changes, small questions, small invasions that seem innocent. They are not. Protect your parents, your grandparents, your uncles, because there are people out there who see older adults as easy prey, and we are not. We have rights, we have a voice, and we have the law on our side. And the promise is this: no matter how dark the night gets, no matter how lost you feel, no matter how much betrayal hurts, you can survive. You can rebuild. You can find a new reason to get up every morning. It won't be easy. It's going to hurt. There will be days when you want to give up, but don't do it, because you are worth more than you think. And your story doesn't end when someone tries to destroy you. Your story continues, and you decide how it ends. I decided mine would end standing tall, with dignity, with peace, and with the certainty that I did the right thing. That Christmas Eve night, when I sat on that frozen park bench, not knowing if I would see my house again, I gave my boots to a stranger. I didn't do it expecting anything in return. I did it because in the middle of so much darkness, I needed to do something good, and that something good saved my life. Sometimes life returns what you give in ways you never imagined. Sometimes kindness multiplies in mysterious ways. Sometimes when you lose everything, you discover that you always had the most important thing. I discovered it, and now I live every day grateful to have survived, grateful to have a second chance, grateful to be able to tell this story. Because if my story can help even one person, if it can wake up even one older adult who is being manipulated, if it can give strength even to someone who lost hope, then it was all worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of pain, everything. I am Robert Sanders, and this is my story. The story of how I was kicked out of my house on Christmas Eve, how I gave my boots to a stranger, and how that night changed my life forever.